This episode is brought to you by Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic, a 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains to support healthy regularity and your gut, immune, and skin health. Optimize your gut health. Visit seed.com/Spotify with code Spotify for 30% off your first month of Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
We're approaching our fourth winter since COVID-19 took over the world in 2020. The past couple of years have been full of pharmaceutical companies competing to make the initial vaccine, then the booster shots that followed. Since the first shot was given in December of 2020, millions of Americans have now received at least one of the COVID-19 vaccines. Now, the FDA has recently approved an updated vaccine that better protects against the variants that are being passed around today.
You know, the strains that are currently circulating, we can think of them as part of the Omicron family. They're the children and grandchildren of Omicron. So there is cross protection for these various strains that are circulating at the present time.
That's infectious disease expert Dr. William Schaffner. He's a professor of preventive medicine and health policy at Vanderbilt University. Since the initial rollout of these shots back in 2020, many people have been skeptical of their safety, partly because they were created differently than the typical flu vaccine we're used to. These COVID-19 injections are part of a vaccine family called messenger RNA, or mRNA for short. Instead of infecting our bodies with an inactive form of the virus, like the flu shot, the COVID vaccine is like an instruction manual for our bodies.
The mRNA really is the blueprint. Our own bodies actually create the vaccine element within us, and then our immune system responds to it. So it's as though we become the factory for actually making the vaccine.
Since 2020 was the first time many people had ever heard of mRNA vaccines, a lot of Americans were nervous this new type of shot hadn't been researched thoroughly. However, what you probably don't know is that there's more than 50 years of public and private research that laid the foundation for the development of the initial COVID-19 vaccine. One of the biggest public concerns was that it would affect our DNA. But Schaffner says while the fear is understandable, that's not something we have to worry about.
We don't all take a course in genetics, but as it happens, this mRNA does not go anywhere near our DNA in our cells. It stays away from the DNA, does not involve our DNA at all.
DNA is enclosed within the nucleus of our cells, which floats in a fluid called cytoplasm. This fluid is where the mRNA goes.
It doesn't get anywhere near the nucleus of the cell, and it gives the protein-making factory that's in the cytoplasm of the cell the blueprint about how to make the spike protein part of the vaccine.
And though mRNA vaccines are more precise and created faster than other types of vaccines, Schaffner says the old methods aren't going anywhere.
Some of the old vaccines work beautifully. Why fix what doesn't need to be fixed? For example, the measles vaccine, right? Works beautifully. If children get the 2-dose series, they're protected for life.
However, the measles virus doesn't change or mutate, which has been a main issue of COVID. Since it seems like there's a new variant every few months, Schaffner says an mRNA vaccine is ideal to deal with all of the mutations.
Now, you might ask, why don't you use it for influenza? That's another virus that likes to mutate. That's why we have to update it. And as a matter of fact, the laboratory scientists are working on just that now. Could we adapt this mRNA technology to making a better, faster influenza vaccine also?
Regardless of the decades of research behind mRNA vaccines and the FDA's seal of approval, some Americans, like Florida's State Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo, still have some doubts. Ladapo has been outspoken about the lack of human clinical trials for this new booster, but Schaffner says it went through the same standard process as the yearly flu vaccine.
We've used influenza vaccine in the millions of doses. We update it on an annual basis. We use the same processes, the same careful FDA supervision of the manufacturer, but we don't do clinical trials with each new generation annually of influenza vaccine. We know how well it works. And so we're doing the same thing now with COVID vaccine. We've given that vaccine in the millions of doses. We know about its effectiveness. We know about its safety. Its manufacture, every single lot of it that's manufactured has to be supervised and approved by the Food and Drug Administration before it's released. So we're doing the same thing we're doing with influenza vaccine.
Schaffner also notes that if each yearly vaccine was to undergo clinical trials, the peak infection season would be over by the time we got results back. And though Latipos claims may affect who chooses to get the booster in Florida, there's expected to be a nationwide impact from the lack of government funding for this new shot.
We have transitioned from the United States government, all of us as taxpayers, paying for the vaccine. So whenever we got it, we just had to roll up our sleeves. We didn't have to reach for our wallets. Now, our regular medical insurance programs will cover this vaccine, whether it's private medical insurance, Medicaid, or Medicare.
But where does that leave people who are uninsured? The CDC estimates that up to 30 million adults don't have health insurance, and even some who do won't have the full vaccine cost covered. In an effort to increase access, the organization created the Bridge Access Program. It provided COVID-19 vaccines for free to anyone without insurance and those whose insurance doesn't cover the entire cost. This resource is available until December 31st of 2024. This new booster is recommended for everyone aged 6 months and older. If you still have questions about COVID-19 vaccines, Schaffner says there are various credible sources people can look to for scientific information.
If they don't want to go to the CDC website, oh dear, that's the government, I would offer the professional websites that are out there created by professional organizations. The National Foundation for Infectious Diseases is a totally nonpartisan group. They provide information right down the center of the road. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the Infectious Diseases Society of America, those organizations have websites. They are not part of either the government, nor are they part of the vaccine industry, which is also looked at with suspicion by folks. And I would hope that those are sources of information that would be useful.
You can find more information about Dr. William Schaffner and all of our guests on our website, radiohealthjournal.org. For more behind the scenes, follow Radio Health Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. Our production manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Greg Johnson. Coming up.
And so now we can think about, could we teach the immune system not just how to fight a certain virus, but could we teach the immune system how to fight cancer?
Can a vaccine cure cancer?
Then, are resilient people born or built?
I was always wondering, was I resilient? I thought I might be, but I wasn't sure. And then I was the victim of a shooting.
All that and more on Radio Health Journal. I'm Elizabeth Westfield, host of Radio Health Journal. If you enjoy listening to Radio Health Journal, you'll also like our sister show, Viewpoints, which covers a wide array of topics from education to history to the environment. Here's a preview of what they're covering this week on Viewpoints.
Tarantulas are actually very, very interesting spiders. Actually, most tarantulas are pretty docile, and people keep them as pets.
Spiders and bats are often used as spooky, scary icons each Halloween, but are they really as scary as they seem? Then,
you can't be America's leading free speech organization if people don't know who you are.
Ever seen ads for an organization known as FIRE? We cover why they seem to be everywhere. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Listen to Viewpoints on your favorite radio station, iTunes, and Stitcher.
And that's Radio Health Journal for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more. And check Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify for a library of past programs. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and information about our guests at radiohealthjournal.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Radio Health Journal.
It's time to get your checking account to zero with free checking from PenFed. That's zero ATM fees, zero balance requirements, and zero time spent waiting for your paycheck to direct deposit because you can receive it up to 2 days early. Open your account with just $25 and see how big zero can be. Apply online today at penfed.org/free checking. Early direct deposit eligibility may vary between pay periods and timing of payer's funding. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.